Hi, I'm Phil Coutu. I'm sitting here with Mike from Pro Roofing and Chip from Chips Roofing. I can be reached at rooftoproofing.com, or you can text me anytime at 303. Oops, let's change that. 720-296-3492. That's 720-296-3492. Hey guys, we're going to come back and we want to touch base. One of our leading advocates here is Chip with Chips Roofing. And Chip, for a period of time, and I believe he still is, but I'll let him discuss it, there was a Consumer Bureau Board formed in Colorado. Can you share a little bit of information about the board, what its intentions were, and how it's going?
It's a board of consumers that get together once a month and discuss insurance issues. I believe I was the only contractor in Colorado state history to get appointed to this board. And
so they must not known you were a contractor at the time.
I told them, but they didn't realize I was such a big mouth contractor. So I've been on the board for 5 years.
5 years?
5 years, yes.
Wow.
My tenure was going to be up, and then it came time to do a sunset review. What that is, do they want to pay for the board to go on for another 15 years? The largest state output on the board to have that board, I think, was $1,500 for the year. And most of that was to pay parking permits, which, as a good citizen, I never had them reimburse me. Just all of a sudden became a big state thing. Legislatures and everything did not want to renew the consumer board.
Why do you feel that is?
Because I don't feel that it was advantageous for them to keep it a little bit too hard for them to justify it when we were actually bringing in good things that were against the insurance companies. I believe that we're number 50 in consumer protection in Colorado out of all 50 states. And I believe...
So hold on. When you say we're number 50 in consumer protection, you're saying we're at the top or we're at the bottom?
We're at the top of the bottom.
And so Colorado, you're saying, is at the top of the bottom. And can you quantify that, how they come up with that statistic, or where you heard it from? Or
I believe there was a study a few years ago. I don't actually have the study that put us in the top 10% of the bad. I believe when they're able to go to the legislature and push things like Senate Bill 38, which is the Roofer Bill of Rights, which pretty much passes laws against only the roofing contractor and no other contractor in the state. That's something that was pushed by the insurance industry because the roofers were doing so well at beating them. So the best way to beat the people who are beating us is to pass a law against them.
Right, and so, it's really interesting how they're legislating out freedoms. I have some firsthand experience with some of the public adjuster bills and a little bit with the roofer bill. One of the things I learned down, I'm from Canada, so I think it's the legislature. I don't know what you call it. It was the House. Do you guys call it the legislature here? I've been here
you have the legislature and then the House.
Yeah, I've been here 20 years, but I still get it mixed up being from Canada. But one of the things I noticed down at the House, the legislature, or down there at the Capitol, is the politicians get these talking points, get these point form why the bill's good. And it's completely written by the lobbyists or the industry that wants to get something accomplished. And it's unbelievable how ignorant some are. They just take it. Oh, this is good because this is what it does. Oh, roofers, people aren't getting their full coverage because roofers are fighting with the insurance company and they're not licensed public adjusters. And I'm like, I told some politicians that's absolutely not true. Those roofers are getting roofs that were repaired, or gutters or siding that was the insurance industry was saying was repairable. They're getting them totaled with their knowledge power. And because of the internet and so many forums out there, there's guys out there that become quite educated. Let's face it, a lot of my education is self-education. Sure, go look at my CV. I've taken hundreds of courses. But those courses lead me to go do more research because I'm not as trusting as a lot of people. I want to get, I think you seek the truth with all your heart. Honestly, I do on that. And I'm always, I think, my kids might be a little bit abnormal. They're not going to be as politically correct because I teach them to look and figure things out. So one of the things I realized going in society is we all become lazy and we just take what we hear. I can't remember if it was Thomas Jefferson or who said, if you don't read the newspaper, this is like 80, 100 years ago, you are uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed. And that always stuck with me. And I was like, wow, where's the truth? It lies somewhere in the middle there or somewhere outside of the bracket. It's fascinating.
I can tell you from Canada because Thomas Jefferson was about 200 years ago.
200 years ago. Yeah, there you go. But hey, at least I know the quote because I seen that. I'll never forget it. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Right? I just sent a video, and I don't know if I sent it to Chip, but of one of the guys, I won't say the weather network, in the hurricane, and he's bouncing back and forth, and there's all these gusts of winds and the rain's hitting him, and in the way back view you see two people in shorts just strolling down the street, not being affected by the wind at all. And it's just the dramatics of even the news media, even the simplest thing like the weather. I think I sent that to you, right, Mike?
Yeah, you did.
And wasn't that fascinating?
Yeah, I mean, here they had this guy, and he was a news reporter, and these winds are, they're going 65 miles an hour, and he's getting blown all over, and all of a sudden you see two kids behind him, and they just walked right
like
behind
not
him.
walk, like strolling by him.
Yeah.
Well, he's
It's like
filming
that.
this, and he's bouncing on his knees, and then it hits social media. You can look it up, and so people like the particular weather station said, well, he was standing on grass. It's just like I was buying it. He's rocking back and forth, going, okay, it's up to 60 miles an hour, and then you realize how it's just cheaper for them to go and use a little bit of theatrical and dramatics to get their picture, but it's not truthful in the end. And I think that's what we have going on in a lot of this big business. And hey, I'm a total capitalist. I'll say it on the air. I'm all for capitalism. I think it's fantastic. I am not for corporatism. At all. And people, if you don't know the definition, look it up. It's pretty simple. But there is a big difference, and they happen to get combined all the time. And to push this socialism narrative, being from Canada, experienced socialism. No, our medical is not better than America's. I don't care what Michael Moore or anybody says. But let's get back on topic here.
I think that, you've worked in other states. I've worked in Wyoming. I grew up in Florida. I've worked in Florida. And I've seen how the insurance industry reacts in those states. So Wyoming is 50 miles up the road, but it's miles ahead. They actually are consumer friendly there. They do have rules there that need to be followed, and then if they are broken, they back them up. I don't believe that in Colorado we have a set of rules that is enforced. And
well, actually, I've found out. People can look up one of my recent lawsuits. The rules are enforced on the good guys standing up, fighting for truth. It's really sad right now, the state of affairs. So I do agree with Chip on that point. They're not enforcing the rules unilaterally, and you're getting the insurance industry. And let's be clear, we're not saying all the insurance industry is bad. I still have many friends that are adjusters, and there's some still very good insurance companies out there. But unfortunately, it's going to the way where the adjusters have less experience, but there's really no rules. They're basically protected behind the giant corporate shield, which leaves the guys out fighting for the consumer kind of naked with no armor. Wouldn't you guys agree?
I agree, and I believe that's one of the reasons why they should come up with adjuster licensing. I believe what they do to the public adjuster, they need to do to the insurance adjuster. So at least that levels the playing field.
So yeah, let's let the consumer and the public know out there that the adjusters in Colorado are not licensed, and the insurance industry has stated verbally out there that they will fight any licensing because but yet public adjusters, which is another word, because some people don't know public adjusters, it's becoming more common in Colorado. A public adjuster really is your own personal private adjuster, and that is representing you. So when I'm a public adjuster, I got to flip my hat around. I don't work for the insurance, and at that point in time, I'm looking to find coverage in the policy and get them the most honorable settlement there is. When I'm insurance adjuster, I am guided by a certain set of rules. Most adjusters do not know the ethics, the unfair claims practices. Go look them up, Google them for Colorado. Most adjusters are oblivious to them, and we're just told what to say. But I've always tried when I'm an adjuster still to find coverage and be as honorable, and often it led to many disagreements with case managers I had in the insurance on particular claims, usually larger claims, even smaller claims. It's one of the reasons I ended up becoming a public adjuster in many states, was because of how I was forcing to not properly pay for claims.
Hey, Phil, I was wondering if you could enlighten the viewers here about DORA and how you were licensed by them.
One more thing. I do hear...
That's going to open up another Phil Coutu investigation.
So what I do hear a lot out of the when we're discussing claims on the phone is, oh, it's not our policy to do this, and it's not our policy to do that. Wait a minute. Your policy is to follow your policy, isn't it?
Right. So let's that's a perfect thing to take up after the break. We're going to talk about what the insurance company is when it's not our policy. Do you have a commercial hail claim, troubled hail claim, underpaid claim, missed damages, bad faith, possible legal action? RoofTop Restoration is a leading hail loss consumer advocate for poorly handled insurance claims. We specialize in hail damage, large commercial claims, and provide the total claims package risk-free. We pay and cover all expert costs, engineers, attorneys, roof inspectors, adjusters. We get you what you deserve under your insurance policy. Finance large deductibles, all the experts, experience, and stellar reputation with zero out-of-pocket costs. Risk-free. Call or text RoofTop Restoration at 720-296-3492. Call or text at 720-296-3492. That's 720-296-3492. And check us out at RoofTopRestoration.com. Hi, we're back live on air. It's Insurance Claim Radio. I'm Phil Coutu with RoofTopRestoration.com, RoofTopRoofing.com. You can reach me personally anytime by text at 720-296-3492. I'm here with Mike from Pro Roof Solutions. Mike, what's your phone number?
It's 720-628-7293.
And I'm also here with Chip from Chip's Roofing. Your phone number, Chip?
720-938-ROOF, 7663.
We got some of the foremost experts here sitting on the panel. I'm the host. I specialize in large loss, commercial, complex, troubled insurance claim. If you have a troubled claim, I'm the guy to call. Chip and both Mike also do large loss claims as well as residential roofing. Okay, guys, let's get back. We were talking a little bit. We're honored in the studio today. We got Chip here, and he was on the insurance. Is it the Insurance Consumer Board of Colorado?
Consumer Insurance Council.
It's the
Consumer
Council.
Insurance Council. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So tell us a little bit more like that and your experience on it and some of the good things that were happening out of it.
Well, we got to go in. We got to hang out with the director of the Division of Insurance and the two assistant directors. We would talk about matters of insurance and what's going on. Mostly it was about the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. I did do my best to bring in homeowners insurance and property casualty stuff, and that was going all right when they would hear it. So if you look at your every piece of paperwork, they have the fraud alert. And on the fraud alert it says if you do anything wrong, you're going to prison. And if they do anything wrong, they'll be turned over to the Division of Insurance. So I was bringing in paperwork and showing them.
Now, that fraud alert, I've read that many, many times over decades.
Right.
How come it's only pointed at the consumer and not at the insurance company or the insurance adjuster?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Shouldn't be like what's good for the goose is good for the gander?
Yes. So, in other words,
Shouldn't maybe our adjusters even be held to a higher level than the consumer?
You would think so. You would think because we are individuals, we are individually responsible for our actions. Because they are a conglomeration, they are coexisting in their whatever they're doing as one big entity.
Sounds like a giant immunity shield almost, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's not really fair, is it?
No, it really isn't.
So how were you guys? Were you trying to tackle that a little bit, or trying to change that?
I was bringing that to their attention at the Division of Insurance, and what I've realized is there is no avenue to turn them into the Division of Insurance. I believe the state really needs to come up with an avenue to fix that. I don't believe they will, but I believe they do. I've spent much time at the Capitol trying to talk to legislatures, meeting them where they're at. What I've realized, it gets through to them, but when you actually see them on the floor, they're surrounded by many lobbyists. And I don't want to be accusatory in any way, but I have no idea what kind of stuff that they're getting towards their campaigns to, to make Colorado like this. So I believe in, again, I've worked in Wyoming. It's a completely different animal there.
Have you noticed that the smaller Midwestern states, like almost population related to the size of cities, it's always appeared to me, and this is from being around the country, the smaller the township, the cities you're in, it seems like there is actually more consumer protection. And when we get larger, it seems there's more lobbyists, and the truth's harder to find, and there's less true consumer protection.
I would see that mostly, but again, I'm from Florida, so I mean, I see in Florida, true consumer protection. I believe in Florida. I look at it sort of like, you've got a lot of elderly here. We're going to protect these people if you screw our elderly.
And Florida's an interesting case because I'm from Florida also. For a long time, I still technically reside in Florida, and I still spend a good amount of my time there. I'm between Colorado and Florida. And Florida has some crazy consumer protection, but their protection in some ways when it comes to roofing and roofing licensing actually has increased the price. And so sometimes I often wonder, how is it better for the consumer? And there's quite a few criminals in Florida in the roofing business because a lot of times the gentleman who works with his hands, like that's a 16-hour license, and that took me weeks and weeks to study for, and I'm very knowledgeable. And it's open book test, and you've got about $1,500 worth of books, and it's very expensive to pass that license. It's over 2 days, like 8 hours, 45 minutes a day. And I've held that license there for about 15 years. And it's a good state in some ways, but also because of that, the regular guy, the regular roofer that isn't have the education to read well and go through books has a very, very difficult time getting that license. So you get a little bit more savvy person in, and a lot of times they're assigning licenses. So it's an interesting topic. We'll get to it, but it is a more consumer-friendly state. There's also it's called FAPIA, Florida Association Public Independent Adjusters, FAPIA. And FAPIA is one of the best associations for public adjusters I've seen. I'm a member. I often attend 1 to 2 conferences a year because they're that educational. They're 2 to 3 day conferences, and there's panels with attorneys, and they're kind of cutting edge Florida because of the hurricanes. But they had, before the last set of hurricanes, they had, I think, 3,000 members, and I don't know how many public adjusters are in Florida, but I think it's in the tens of thousands. So they're really quite an active force. And it's the flip side because they're all together. We do have some associations in Colorado, but honestly, they cannot be compared to the Florida Association of Public Independent Adjusters. They're a fantastic group, and they've got their own lobbyists, and they're down there fighting for the consumer.
I believe, Florida pricing, too, though, is also a byproduct of inspections. So you just can't blow through a roof like they do here. You can't knock out a roof in one day. You have 4 inspections per roof. Yeah. They're actually checking your nail patterns. They're checking, they're checking gauging.
Yeah, they've got uplift tests, notice of commencement. But Florida's a different animal.
But they they have the MOA, the method of application, right in the permit, so exactly what they want. Mm-hmm. And you could fail the same inspection an infinite amount of times at the roofer's expense, $100 a red tag.
Yep.
And, training is really easy down there because once the roofer learns that he's going to pay the red tag, he is going to learn that
Right.
I better
So
do my job.
I gotta confirm what Chip's saying is that I have the same opinion. Is that the quality of roofing is definitely a higher standard in Florida. A lot of times, city inspectors are lazy, but in Florida, the methodology of application is right in your permit package, and people are trained a little bit more most times in Florida. The inspectors on the roof, they're either following the Florida building code and often the Miami-Dade code. And the Miami-Dade code is very stringent because of the hurricanes.
It's the toughest code on the planet.
Yeah.
And I think, Phil and Chip, that, we need some type of a system in Colorado where we can have, if we're going to pull a permit, that they're kind of all equal. I mean, we have some, Kingsburg has no permits, different area. Boulder's really tight in them, so it's just different. And we need to have some type of a system so we as a community of roofing contractors or consumers out here, so we know what it is. We don't have to sit there and guess, and they change them all the time on us.
Yeah, I was at the Colorado Roofing Association meeting, and they were trying to get contractor licensing in Colorado, and I'm like, really? I'm like, so exactly whose test should we have? Should we have Florida licensing? Should we have California licensing? Or should we have something less that everybody can pass? And I'm like, so really, I mean, if you're going to have licensing here, you need to have inspections to keep those contractors in line. So if you're going to make it almost impossible for everybody to get licensed here, that means you need to be able to follow the rules that you are planning for the rest of your industry. So I was kind of mad at the Colorado Roofing Association for actually teaming up with the insurance industry to pass Senate Bill 38 in the first place, but they can't tell me exactly which licensing program they want for roofing contractors.
Yeah, isn't that
in the state of
interesting?
Colorado. They want one that's easy enough for them to pass, but I just don't think that the contractors could handle the Florida inspections here. It would slow them down greatly.
Yeah.
It might be something also where maybe the governor or his council could help us in this. That might be an alternative.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit libertarian on things because I know licensing ultimately gives the government more control over you, whether it's the simplest license or not. There are a lot of good things. There's also industries out there that are self-regulating, that set their own standards. And, whether it's Florida or Colorado, your real best bet is to find a seasoned roofer with experience. Look at their experience. Look how long they've been around, what they've done. Whether you're in Florida, like Florida was one of the places where I ran into more criminals than anywhere, which is fascinating because the licensing is so hard. But I realized the regular guy, regular immigrant roofer, because most of them are people, you have to deal with that, can't get that license in Florida. They have to have somebody go write it for them and qualify them, which causes other issues. So you do take some of the best roofers out. So it's really an interesting topic to me, and I think that there should be standards, and I don't know why sometimes their own bodies, like, the Colorado Roofing Association could stand up. Why do they have to be involved with the government? Why can't they set their own standards and have their own complaint line and have their own couple inspectors when there's a complaint? And maybe to be part of it, you post 10 or 15,000 or 25,000, or go get a bond for 100,000, a performance bond you give to the association. I've had these talks before with many roofers about starting them. But the industry is difficult in roofing because it's very fractured. You don't get a lot of people in the industry, like guys sitting at this table. You really don't. That actually really care truthfully. A lot of times it is about money and just going about business the same old way. And a lot of time it's offensive to some of these associations when people do stand up and speak and say, let's self-regulate. Because that's one of the best ways is to form an association, have a performance bond, or a cash bond you're holding in the bank, and here's our rules, guys, and there's a complaint line, and 2 or 3 of the board members go and inspect the complaint, and you give your roofer your membership 72 hours. Fix this roof, or we'll go fix it, charge you back, and you're not our member. There's many ways that some associations could be strengthened. I know there's several that have started up, but nobody's really got together, pulled together. But it's also a hard industry because you're not dealing with the most, I don't know how to say it. I have a lot of friends out there, but they're not always the most ethical and honorable,
Get that.
When we look at licensed contractors in Colorado, we always hear about this term. Well, they're from out of state, right? And there's some good ones. There's not so good ones. So, I mean, my advice is to check everyone out. Do your due diligence and make sure, that they have certificate of liability insurance, and look at their complaints and see if they have any bad things going there. Is there any attorney general complaints, that type stuff. So do your due diligence and make sure that when you pick somebody that that they're reputable, and the good ones are going to be good. The ones that aren't, and some real quick key things, and I'll just take 1 minute, Phil, is when you choose a licensed contractor, you want to make sure that, of course, they're licensed. Number one, check the BBB. You can also check those other things. But when you do that, you want to kind of check them out from the standpoint of what work they've done in the past, and feel free to, are they going to give you a certificate of non-lien, not only from the roofing supply company, also from you? That means you don't want that insurance company coming back to you, or the roofing contractor coming back to you and saying, hey, you owe me $24,000 on a roof because you gave the guy the money and he decided to leave to some unknown state.
I agree with him totally. I think one of the bigger problems in this industry is the contractor is picking the customer. They're spending so much time knocking on their door and up in their face and calling them. The customer would sign anything to get it to stop. And I think you need to be a more savvy customer also, and you need to pick your contractor and not let your contractor pick you. And
it's easy to have the fast talk and the knowledge pretty quick in this industry. It's easy to buy into. We've all bought into it in different industries. Licensed or not, you just need to find somebody you're comfortable with, somebody with a solid reputation, that someone's going to see it through.
And I've been having to point out lately, has anybody here really ever bought anything at the door that they're happy with?
Well, Chip, I'm a door knocker for 10 years, and hey, it's done me well.
Hey, I've door knocked a lot too in my day, but it's a tough business. Probably I did so well is because the element is so shady out there. Anyways, that is a wrap here in 30 seconds. We got Mike with Pro Roof Solutions and Chip with Chisp Roofing. Mike, your phone number
is 720-628-7293.
And Chip's Roofing?
720-938-7663.
And I'm Phil Coutu with RoofTopRoofing.com, 720-296-3492.
And do us all a favor, lock your dogs up before we get there.
All right, that's a wrap.